Siwoo woke to the sound of chopping. Fast, rhythmic, clean. Thok, 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 thok. For a moment he stayed still in the dark, listening. The blade hit the board with a precision he knew by ear. His mother. Not the old man. The old man's wrists shook these days. The old man only chopped when he was trying to prove a point, and that usually ended in curses and uneven carrots. The alarm on his phone vibrated once on the nightstand. He shut it off without looking. He didn't need the time. His body woke to the routine now, late enough that the drunks were gone from Federal. Early enough that the lunch crowd wasn't out yet. In between hour. Gray space. Good for moving quietly. He rolled onto his side and stared at the ceiling of the tiny bedroom above the restaurant. Hairline cracks spiderwebbed across the paint. He'd memorized them as a kid, turned them into rivers and dragon shapes to fall asleep. Now they were just proof that the landlord upstairs was cheap and the building was old. He swung his legs over the edge of the futon, bare feet on cold floor. The air smelled like stale broth and old smoke, comforting and suffocating at the same time. He grabbed the gray t-shirt hanging off the chair, pulled it on, then dark jeans, socks, the ankle holster. The little Glock slid into place against his left leg. His hand brushed the grip once. Habit, a quick check, like some people touch their keys. Phone, wallet. Chain with the small jade piece under his shirt. He never took that off, not even when things got messy. He opened the bedroom door and stepped into the narrow hall. Steam and garlic hit him like a wave. The back kitchen of Golden Phoenix Noodle House was awake, angry, alive. His mother stood at the stainless steel table, cleaver in hand, working through a pile of green onions with the speed of someone who'd done this for 40 years and planned to do it 40 more. Her hair was pinned up, streaks of gray defiant against the black, apron already splattered. "You're late," she said in Cantonese without looking up. "I'm on time," he replied in the same language. "You just always wake up like it's war." She snorted, flicking chopped onion into a tray. "It is war. Lunch special. 2-for-1 bubble tea. You think that's not war? White girls with Instagram ask for extra boba like I grow it in the parking lot." He smirked despite himself. On the stove, 2 huge stock pots simmered, the bones inside popping occasionally. The whole kitchen smelled like star anise, peppercorn, old fryer oil, and sweat. His little sister, May, moved between fridge and counter, balancing 3 things at once, filling sauce bottles, scrolling her phone, and nagging. "You remember you promised to take me to Target today," she said in English, like it was a legal binding contract. "I need new shoes. Those old ones make my feet look fat." "Your feet are fat," he said. "My feet are perfect," she snapped. "You're blind." She was 21, all eyeliner and lip gloss and ambition going nowhere fast. Too smart for the restaurant, too lazy to leave it. He took a stool near the back door, watching them move, letting the rhythm of the kitchen soothe his nerves. It had always been like this. Heat, clang of metal, boiling water, shouted orders. When he was little, he'd done homework on the flour bags in the corner while his parents worked 16-hour days to stay 3 months behind on the lease. Now the lease was paid on time most months, not because business got better, because he had other income. His father shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. White tank top, pajama pants, scowl already in place. "You go sleep at a good hour and you don't look like shit in the morning," the old man said to him in Mandarin this time, just to annoy his wife. "He's working," his mother shot back in Cantonese. "You snore like pig and complain when sun comes up. Useless." "You call me useless?" the old man snapped. "You burned rice last week. I still hear about that from customers." "Rice machine broke." "Rice machine broke because you kick it." May rolled her eyes and switched to English. "Oh my God, you two are like TikTok comments in real life." Siwoo drank his water and let them fight. The arguments were part of the architecture. If they ever stopped, he'd know something was truly wrong. On the far counter, his phone buzzed. A message in an encrypted app. No name, just the dragon emoji. He picked it up, thumbed it open. Route run this afternoon. Collect at 3 locations. 12 p.m. meet. Also see boss later. District talk. His jaw tightened a fraction. A route was fine. Collections, reminders, presents. Easy work. District talk was different. That usually meant somebody was moving into someone else's territory, or someone was about to be reminded whose streets these were. You don't have to say yes, he thought, the same lie he told himself every time. He typed back anyway. Siwoo said, okay. That was the thing about loyalty. It didn't ask if you were tired. By late morning, South Federal was fully awake. He stepped out the back door into the narrow service alley behind the restaurant, blinking against the hard light. The sky over Denver was a pale, washed-out blue, the sun already high and sharp. The light bounced off every windshield, every chrome strip, every broken bottle on the asphalt. It felt like standing under a heat lamp. He clicked the fob. The Lexus IS 500 F-Sport sat half a block down, black paint so clean it looked like a hole in the world. Squatting low on aftermarket wheels, tinted darker than legal. A quiet car if you didn't know what was under the hood. A monster if you did. He liked it because it was the middle finger in both directions. White office guys saw a nice Lexus and thought, accountant. The street kids heard the V8 rumble and gave it respect. Both were wrong. He slid into the driver's seat. Leather hugged his shoulders. He started the engine. It turned over with a deep, restrained growl. His phone mounted in the dash holder tried to connect to Bluetooth. Failed. Tried again. Come on, he muttered. Finally, his playlist popped up. Old Korean rap washed through the cabin, the beat grounding him. He eased out onto Federal. The boulevard was its usual chaos. Lane drifters, sudden stoppers, people who treated blinkers like optional accessories. Signs shouted in 3 languages, Vietnamese, Korean, Spanish. PHO 88. Soul Market. Karaoke Paradise. Tacos. El Rey. He knew who owned which block, who paid who, where not to park if you wanted your car to be there later. The bosses might change hands. Territory didn't. At the first red light, he drummed fingers on the steering wheel and glanced up. The sun looked weird. Too bright, too white, like somebody had taken the color out of the sky around it. The light turned green. He rolled forward. A little Vietnamese woman in a straw hat dragged crates of leafy greens across the sidewalk. A group of teenagers in oversized hoodies and fake designer sneakers laughed too loud outside a bubble tea shop. A cop car rolled past in the opposite lane, not in a hurry, just watching. He drove past a Korean church with a sign out front that said Jesus loves you in English and Korean. He didn't look at it too long. Collections went smooth. Parking lot behind a nail salon. Back room of a massage place that definitely did more than massages. Kitchen of a sushi spot that paid late every month and always apologized too much. At each stop, the ritual was the same. Knock. Wait, let them see his face. No yelling. No threats. Just presence and politeness and the reminder that the dragon had a long memory. You tell boss thank you, one owner said as he handed over a thick envelope. Seriously, those guys from the other side, they come around asking questions. He make them stop. Siwoo gave a small nod. You pay on time, he protects on time. It was a simple math that made sense in a world where the police took 30 minutes to show up and asked more questions about immigration status than the men with tattoos on their necks ever did. By 11:30, he was back on Fed, heading toward the family restaurant again, envelope tucked beneath the armrest in a secret compartment that wasn't really secret if you knew where to look. His phone buzzed, another dragon message. 12:30, back room, noodle house. Home turf, good. Less risk of some overeager idiot trying to prove himself by starting something stupid. He stopped at a red light and checked the sky again. If anything, the light felt harsher now. The shadows of the street signs on the pavement were shorter than they should be. A dog barked on the sidewalk. He glanced over. A scruffy mutt was tied to a post outside a market, gnawing on the air, chain clinking. Its hackles were up, teeth bared. It wasn't barking at a person. It was barking at the sky. He frowned. Another dog barked, somewhere behind the buildings. Maybe a siren, he thought. He rolled the window down a crack. No siren, just a strange, quiet hum in the air, like the moment before a big sound. The light turned green. He drove. By the time he pulled into the narrow strip of parking behind Golden Phoenix, 3 more dogs in different yards were barking non-stop. A pit mix pounded against a backyard fence. A little white fluff dog at the apartment building across the alley yapped hysterically at absolutely nothing. He turned the Lexus off. The sudden silence inside the car made the dog's noise outside seem even louder. He stepped out. The air felt thick, charged. As he walked toward the back door, the hairs on his arms rose for no reason he liked. He knocked once and let himself in. The back room was small and hot, the cheap oscillating fan doing more for noise than temperature. A folding table, mismatched chairs, a case of beer under the corner, a calendar with K-pop idols taped over last year's girl in the bikini. Boss Kang sat at the table, thick arms folded, tattoo crawling up his neck like a dragon trying to escape. Early 50s, belly soft but eyes hard. 2 younger guys flanked him, Dae on the left, Kwon on the right, both with fresh ink and the twitchiness of men who hadn't yet learned where to put their hands so they looked calm. Siwoo closed the door behind him, took the seat opposite the boss and slid the envelope forward. Kang didn't open it. He knew if Siwoo said it was right, it was right. "How's family?" Kang asked. "They're loud," Siwoo said. "So good." Kang smirked. "Loud means alive. Quiet is when you worry." He tapped the envelope once. "Northside boys been sniffing around," Kang said. "You hear anything?" "Just scared talk," Siwoo said. "They think because they sell a little ice cream on Colfax, they deserve a seat at table. They still pay rent." "For now," Kang said. He leaned back, chair creaking. "If they stop paying," he said, "I'm not sending kids, I send you." Siwoo inclined his head slightly. "Okay." He didn't feel pride at that, or dread. It was just job assignment, like fixing a pipe, like taking out the trash. "The world is getting shaky," Kang said. "Cops busy with their own shit, government crazy, money moving faster than before. Men think that means they can forget who protected them when they were small. It is our job to remind them." "Yes, boss." Kang looked toward the ceiling as if he could see through it to the dining area. "You mothers still use too much salt," he said. Siwoo huffed a quiet half-laugh. "You tell her." "You tell her," Kang said. "Women listen to sons, not old men." The fan wheezed as it turned. Outside, a dog barked again. Then another. Then another. Kang's eyes flicked to the door. "What is with the dogs today?" he muttered. "Maybe the sun," Dae said. "My cousin sent video. Said some solar storm. Gamma rays. Like movie." "Then dogs are watching movie?" Kang shot back. "Idiot!" Siwoo checked his phone automatically. No bars. The little signal icon looked like a dead plant. "Huh," he said quietly. The light overhead flickered. Once. Twice. Then for a full second, the entire restaurant's noise dropped. Fans, fridge hum, distant clatter of plates. The bare bulb in the back room dimmed to a red ember. "Did we forget Bill?" Kwon asked. The lights flared back to full. In the kitchen, someone shouted. A pot banged. Kang's lips pressed into a thin line. "Just finished shift," he said. "We talk more tonight. If grid goes down, people panic. When people panic, we either protect or make money or both." "Yes, boss," they chorused. As if on cue, someone rapped quickly on the backroom door. It swung open before anyone answered. May stuck her head in, eyes wide. She said, "You guys see the news?" "We're busy making news," Kang said. "What?" She ignored him, thrusting her phone out. "The sun thing? It's on everything." The video on her screen stuttered, froze, jumped. Connection bad, but the caption was clear enough. Major solar flare causing power. GPS outages. Another line. Possible transformer damage. Siwoo's skin prickled. He'd grown up on disaster movies, same as everybody else. Sun burps. EMP. Grid down. Zombies. He didn't believe in monsters. He believed in men with guns and bad ideas. But the air outside felt wrong. Kang waved a hand. "Tell your father to start closing early if card machine breaks," he said. Cash only. People always find cash. Yes, boss, she said, rolling her eyes but backing out. Siwoo followed her. Hey, he said in English as they stepped into the kitchen chaos. You feel weird? Define weird, May said. My eyeliner is melting, my phone is trash, and some guy at table 4 asked if we have gluten-free pho. It's a nightmare. You know what I mean, he said. The air. The light. She paused for half a second, actually thinking. Feels like when storm is coming, she admitted, but sky is clear. Maybe God is microwaving us. Funny, he said. The front dining room buzzed louder than usual. People on their phones, some complaining, some shrugging. The card reader at the register flashed an error message. His mother cursed at it under her breath. Just give me cash, she snapped at a customer. You have cash, you old. Old people always have cash. The man bristled, then grudgingly produced a 20. Siwoo noticed something else then. No sirens. On this stretch of Federal, you usually heard one every hour. Cop, ambulance, fire. Today, nothing but cars and voices and the dogs which hadn't stopped. The barking crawled along his nerves. Going out back, he told his mother. You gonna smoke? She asked without looking. Just air, he said. She snorted like that was worse. The alley behind the restaurant was a narrow chute between brick and cinder block, lined with dumpsters and broken pallets and discarded oil drums. Strip malls backed onto it. Chinese market, liquor store, another full place, massage parlor with dark-tinted windows. The heat hit him like a solid wall when he stepped out. The sky over the alley strip was a rectangle of white-blue light, almost painful to look at directly. The sun was high enough now that the shadows were short, pressed close to the base of the buildings. The dogs were louder back here. Behind the liquor store, a big Rottweiler/Doberman mix threw itself at the chain link, spittle flying, eyes locked on something a little to the left of where Siwoo stood. Behind the apartment building, 2 small mutts danced at the ends of their chains, yapping furiously, bodies rigid. What do you see? He asked them softly, scanning the alley. Nothing moved. Dumpsters sat in their usual places. Trash bags slouched against them. A shopping cart lay on its side. Heat shimmered above the asphalt. He took a few steps forward, hand resting casually at his side near the knife clipped in his pocket. Something scraped against brick further down. Not loud, just a faint, dry shhhk like sandpaper dragged slowly across stone. He froze. The dogs went insane, voices jumping an octave. He moved toward the sound, each step deliberate. As he rounded the curve where the alley kinked behind the massage parlor, he saw it. At first, his brain tried to make it a man. It was on the wall, halfway up, body pressed to the vertical brick, like gravity had forgotten its job. Limbs bent in ways they shouldn't, long fingers spread, claws biting into the mortar. It was long, longer than any person. Its torso stretched, ribs visible under slick, dark skin that glistened as if constantly wet. Its legs ended in feet that were half hand, half talon. Its head turned. If it had hair, it was microscopic. The skull smooth and angled, jaw narrow. The eyes were wrong. No whites, just yellow with black slits. It looked at him the way he looked at a bowl of noodles. Calculation, not curiosity. Siwoo didn't move. Every time he'd ever walked into a room with dangerous men, walked into a fight, stepped into a back lot where he wasn't sure who was waiting, he'd felt something. His body recognized the shape of human threat. This wasn't that. This was something old and cold and not impressed by his little gun or his reputation. His hand slid, slow, toward his pocket. The creature's head tilted, following the motion. It made a sound then, not a growl, not a hiss. Something low and almost inaudible, like air moving through a flute carved from bone. It vibrated in his chest more than his ears. Behind it, further down the alley, he saw movement. Another one. On all fours, this one, smaller but faster, tail whipping. It scuttled across the far end, between dumpsters, out of sight in a blink. So there were at least 2. He thought about retreating, going back into the restaurant, locking the door, pretending he'd seen nothing. But his family was in there, his boss, his people. If these things wanted to come in, the thin metal door wouldn't slow them. The knives and cleavers would be something, but not enough. not without warning. He had to know how they moved. "You from lab?" he murmured, more to himself than to it. "Or from hell?" The creature blinked once. The lids came from the sides, not top and bottom. It released one hand from the wall and began to move toward him, not dropping to the ground, just sliding along the brick as easily as a lizard on glass. The dogs on both sides hit the fences, chains jangling. One of them yelped as its paws slipped on concrete. His hand found the knife in his pocket. He flicked the assisted open with a practiced thumb. The small blade felt like a toy compared to the thing crawling toward him. Still, he'd brought smaller to bigger fights and walked away. "Okay," he said quietly in Korean, then in English. "Let's see." He didn't draw his gun yet. Noise in the alley was one thing. Gunshots were another. Cops came for those, even on solar flare days. The creature closed half the distance, then stopped abruptly. It lifted its head again, nostrils flaring. For a moment, Siwoo thought it was smelling him. Fear, sweat, whatever. Then he realized its head was turned slightly up, toward the sky. The light changed. Not a lot. Just enough that his eyes felt it first. A tiny dimming, like someone turned the sundial down one click. He glanced up. No clouds, no eclipse, just less. On instinct, he looked at his phone screen. It was dead, not asleep, dead. "Shit," he breathed. The creature seemed to come to a decision. With a fluid, horrifying grace, it dropped from the wall. It didn't hit the concrete like a heavy thing should. It landed light, crouched, long arms absorbing the impact. Its hands flexed once, claws scraping. Now it was at his eye level. It was worse this way. He'd seen men die before. He'd caused some of it. He'd watched life leave eyes. He'd never looked into eyes that had never been human to begin with. He took a slow step. He took one back, keeping the distance, blade low and ready. Behind him, the back door to the restaurant opened a crack. "Siwoo?" his mother called. "We need." "Stay inside," he snapped in Cantonese without turning. Something in his tone must have cut through decades of habit. The door clicked shut again. The creature's head snapped toward the door at the sound, then back to him. It had options. Door, dog, him. For reasons he couldn't understand, it chose him. It lunged. He had a half second to move. He didn't try to run. There was no time. He moved sideways, like stepping off a line of attack in a knife fight, bringing his own blade up. Claws flashed where his throat had been a moment before. He sliced at the nearest limb. The knife bit, not deep, but enough to get a reaction. The skin wasn't like reptile leather. It was softer on top, tougher underneath, weirdly elastic. The creature shrieked. The sound was high and piercing, like metal scraping glass. It whipped around faster than he wanted to believe, tail lashing. The tip caught him in the chest like a punch. He stumbled back, air leaving his lungs. It pounced. This time, he did draw the gun. The little Glock came out of the ankle holster as if dragged by a string. Years of muscle memory, 1,000 dry fires in his bedroom pointed at closet doors and imagined faces. He didn't aim like at the range. No perfect stance, no careful sight picture. He shoved the barrel toward the oncoming blur and pulled the trigger 3 times. The shots were deafening in the alley. Bang, bang, bang. The muzzle flashes were brief, ugly flowers against the creature's dark body. 2 shots went wild, one slamming into the brick, spraying dust. The middle one hit. It jerked like someone had yanked it back on a rope. Dark, almost black blood sprayed from its side, spattering the wall and ground. It crashed into him anyway. They went down together. Up close, its smell hit him. A mix of damp earth, copper, and something chemical, like old batteries. Its skin was hot, radiating heat like it carried its own fever. It snapped at his face. He turned his head, teeth closing on his shoulder instead. Pain flared, bright white. He jammed the knife into its neck, felt resistance, then a strange give, like cutting through thick rubber hose. It shrieked again, thrashing. He fired again, point blank into its torso. The slide locked back on an empty mag. The creature spasmed, claws tearing at his arm, chest, the ground. Its tail whipped like a cut hose, then Slowly, its movements lost purpose. It collapsed on top of him, heavier now than it had felt when it moved. He shoved it off with a grunt, rolling to his side, sucking air back into his lungs. The dogs barked themselves hoarse. His shoulder burned, hot and sticky. He pressed his hand there, felt blood, his bright red, the creature's darker, almost tar-like, pooled on the concrete. "Siwoo!" His mother's voice again, terrified now. He forced himself to his feet, waving her away from the small, greasy window in the door. "Stay inside," he shouted, switching to English and then back. "Inside!" The back door opened a crack anyway. May's face appeared, eyes huge. "What the actual?" she started, then saw the thing on the ground. She stopped being funny. "Close the door," he said. "Lock it, now." She disappeared. The door shut. He heard the bolt slide. Good. He looked down at the creature. Up close, it was worse. The body was long, all tendon and muscle. The hands had 4 fingers and an opposable thumb, each ending in a curved black claw, no visible genitals. The chest looked almost human until you noticed the wrong number of ribs. Its head lolled to the side. The eyes were slightly glazed, unfocused, still open. He knelt and, despite everything screaming at him not to, reached out and touched the blood pooling near its wound with one finger. It was thick, almost gelatinous, stringing between his fingers. It smelled like rust, dirt, and something that set off alarm bells somewhere deep in his hindbrain. "Where the hell did you come from?" he whispered. He looked toward the far end of the alley where the smaller one had disappeared. Nothing there now, just heat ripple. But he knew, with the same certainty he knew which streets were safe and which weren't, that this wasn't the last one. Or the biggest one. A sound cut through the barking then, a single distant scream from the front of the building. Then another, closer. Car horns blared, then died abruptly. He glanced at his dead phone, at the dimming light, at the creature bleeding out on the concrete. Something big had shifted. Not just his alley, not just his street. The world had tilted. He wiped the worst of the blood off on the dead thing's flank, popped the empty mag from the Glock, and went for the spare tucked in the back of his waistband. He slammed it in, racked the slide. The old boss liked to talk about territory, about north side, south side, east, west, little wars, little borders. He looked at the body on the ground and realized, with the clarity that made his skin go cold, that the map had just changed. Federal wasn't just federal anymore. It was a hunting ground.